My wife handed me divorce papers on a Tuesday. That Friday, I found out I'd inherited $500 million and couldn't tell a soul for 5 years. The Tuesday started normal enough. I was under a '98 Civic replacing a worn timing belt when I heard her heels click across the concrete floor of my garage. Jen never wore heels to the shop. The smell of motor oil usually made her nauseous. "Marcus, we need to talk." I slid out from under the car, wiping my hands on a rag that hadn't been clean in weeks. She stood there in a cream-colored dress I'd never seen before, holding a manila folder against her chest like a shield. "What's up?" I asked. She didn't answer right away, just stared at my hands. The grease under my nails, the calluses on my palms from years of turning wrenches. Her eyes moved to my wedding ring. The brass had worn thin. A dark line of oil had settled into the engraving we'd chosen together. Together always. "I can't do this anymore, Marcus. I just can't." The folder hit my workbench. Divorce papers. I recognized the county seal before I even opened it. "Jen, I gave you everything I had." She shook her head. "Everything you had wasn't enough." The door chimed as she left. I stood there in the middle of my garage, hands still black with grease, staring at those papers. The hydraulic lift hissed in the corner. Someone's radio played classic rock 3 bays down. The whole world just kept moving like nothing had happened. I looked down at my ring, still on my finger, still there. Friday came fast. I was replacing brake pads on a Dodge Ram when a black Mercedes pulled up outside. Wrong neighborhood for that kind of car. I figured someone was lost, maybe looking for the dealership 2 miles west. The driver stepped out. Older guy, maybe late 60s, wearing a suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. He looked around my garage like he was visiting another planet. "Marcus Hayes." "That's me. My name is Dalton. I'm an estate attorney. We need to talk." He wouldn't say more until we were in my office, a converted storage room with a desk, 2 chairs, and a coffee maker that only worked half the time. He set a leather briefcase on the desk and pulled out a sealed envelope. Heavy paper, expensive. "Your uncle, Bernard Hayes, passed away 6 months ago." I barely remembered Uncle Bernard, my dad's brother. Lived out west somewhere, came to Dad's funeral when I was 19, then disappeared back to whatever life he'd built. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. "He left you something." Dalton slid the envelope across the desk. My name handwritten on the front in shaky letters. "Before you open that," Dalton said, "you need to understand there are conditions. Strict ones." "Conditions?" "Open it. Read it. Then we'll talk." I broke the seal. Inside was a handwritten letter and a single piece of paper with numbers on it. Big numbers. Numbers that didn't make sense. $500 million. I read the letter 3 times. Uncle Bernard's words were simple. Asterisk money reveals character, son. I'm betting you'll prove you don't need it to be rich. 5 years of silence. No one can know. Live your life like this doesn't exist. If you can do that, it's yours. If you can't, it goes to charity. Your choice, asterisk. I looked up at Dalton. 5 years. 5 years. You tell anyone, family, friends, anyone, you lose everything. My ring caught the light from the window. Still there. Still brass. Still enough grease in the grooves that no amount of washing could get it clean. What do you do when the person who left you for being poor has no idea you're richer than she'll ever be? The thing about a marriage falling apart is it doesn't happen all at once. It's slow, like rust on metal. You don't see it until the damage is done. We met when I was 26. She was waitressing at a diner near my garage, studying marketing at community college. I fixed her car for free when her alternator died. She brought me pie the next day. Homemade apple. You didn't have to do that, I said. You didn't have to fix my car for free. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony. Her parents couldn't afford much, and I was still paying off Dad's medical bills. We honeymooned at a state park 3 hours away. She said it was perfect. I believed her. Emma came when Jen was 29. Purple was her favorite color from the day she could talk. I bought her a little purple backpack for her first day of preschool. Jen took 100 pictures. Those first years, we were good. Tired? Sure. I worked 60 hours a week trying to build the garage into something that could support us. Jen worked part-time, took care of Emma, talked about finishing her degree someday. But somewhere around Emma's 5th birthday, things shifted. Jen started spending time with a new group of friends. Women from the yoga studio. Women whose husbands were doctors, lawyers, finance guys. Women who drove cars I only saw when they came in for service. I'd come home at 7, covered in grease, and find her scrolling through Instagram. Sarah's husband just bought her a Lexus, she'd say. That's nice. It's a hybrid. Fully loaded. I'd nod, scrubbing oil from under my nails at the kitchen sink. She'd go back to scrolling. One night, I tried to do something special. Dad's recipe for chili, the one he used to make every Sunday. The recipe card was still in my toolbox. Edges worn, splattered with grease from years of keeping it close. I spent 2 hours making it right. Slow simmer, extra cumin like he taught me. I set the table, lit a candle Jen's mom gave us for our anniversary. What's this? Jen asked when she got home. Dinner. Thought we could use a night in. She sat down, looked at the bowl, took one bite. It's good, she said. But she barely ate. Pushed the chili around with her spoon, checked her phone twice. Emma ate 3 bowls. Daddy, this is yummy. Thanks, baby. Jen excused herself early, said she had a headache. I found the recipe card later, still on the counter. Folded it back into my toolbox next to the wrenches and socket sets. Things that still worked, things I could count on. The fight started small. A comment here, a sigh there. Do we really need to keep shopping at discount stores? Emma's friends all go to private schools. I saw Katie's new kitchen. Marble countertops. I tried to explain. The garage was doing okay, but not great. We had enough. Not extra, but enough. I bought you a ring and a promise, I said once. She looked at the brass band on my finger. Same one I'd worn since our wedding day. $22 at a pawn shop. All I could afford back then. Promises don't pay private school tuition. Emma heard that one. She was 6, sitting at the table doing homework. She looked up at us, her crayon frozen mid-stroke. Are you and mommy fighting again? No, baby, I said. Just talking. But she knew. Kids always know. Every morning, I'd pack Emma's lunch. The purple backpack was starting to fray at the seams, but she wouldn't let me replace it. Said it was her favorite. I'd put in a sandwich, apple slices, a juice box, and a note. Always a note. Asterisk have a great day, sweetheart. Love, Dad, asterisk. Jen started comparing everything. My truck to Brad's Tesla. Our house to their split level. My work clothes to his tailored suits. You could do more, she'd say. I'm doing everything I can. It's not enough, Marcus. I thought about Uncle Bernard sometimes during those fights. I'd only met him twice. Once at a family reunion when I was 12. Once at Dad's funeral. He'd pulled me aside after the service, gripped my shoulder. Your dad was a good man, he said. Didn't have much. Didn't need much. He left me his tools, I told him. Best thing he could have left you. Tools and integrity. Uncle Bernard lived simple. Drove an old Ford. Wore the same jacket for 20 years. Dad said he was happy out there in Arizona or Nevada or wherever he'd settled. Uncle Bernard lived simple, died happy, I told Jen once. She looked at me like I'd said something in a foreign language. That's not enough for me, she said. Emma was in the other room playing with her dolls. Through the doorway, I could see her little purple backpack hanging on its hook. Her drawings covered the fridge. Stick figures of our family. Always smiling. I wanted to keep us smiling. But some things, I was learning, you can't fix with better tools or longer hours. Some things are already rusted through before you even see the damage. The courthouse smelled like floor wax and old paper. I sat on a wooden bench outside the courtroom, hands folded, staring at the scuff marks on my boots. Jen sat on the opposite side with her lawyer. She didn't look at me. Brad wasn't there. Too busy, I guess. When they called us in, the judge barely looked up from her paperwork. She read through the settlement like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Maybe she had. Custody to petitioner. Respondent every other weekend. Every other weekend. 14 days a month where I wouldn't wake up to Emma's voice, wouldn't make her breakfast, wouldn't check her homework or read her bedtime stories. Respondent will also have alternating holidays, the judge continued. I wanted to say something, ask for more, but Jen's lawyer had made it clear. I couldn't provide the same stability, the same opportunities, the same life. I signed where they told me to sign. Outside, Jen walked to her car without a word. I stood on the courthouse steps, watching people come and go. Lives being divided up. Futures getting decided by strangers in black robes. My ring felt heavy. The apartment above my garage wasn't much. 1 room, bathroom, kitchenette. I'd used it for storage, mostly. Boxes of old parts, invoice records, things I couldn't throw away but didn't need every day. I spent a week clearing it out. Painted the walls, fixed the leaky faucet, bought a bed, a table, 2 chairs. That was it. Moving day, I carried my toolbox upstairs last. Dad's initials were stamped into the side. Asterisk RH. Robert Hayes, asterisk he bought it when I was born. Said every father should have good tools to teach his son. I set it down next to the bed. The only other thing I owned that mattered. Inside the lid, I taped every drawing Emma had ever made me. Crayon families, stick figure dads with big smiles, purple suns and green grass and houses with smoke curling from chimneys. I sat on the bed and looked at them for a long time. First drop-off was a Sunday. Jen pulled up in front of my garage at exactly 6 p.m. Emma sat in the back seat, her purple backpack on her lap, crying. I walked to the car, opened the back door. Hey, baby. She threw her arms around my neck. Daddy, why can't you come, too? I held her tight, smelled her shampoo, felt her tears on my collar. I'll see you Saturday, baby. I promise. 5 days is too long. I know. I know it is. Jen leaned over from the driver's seat. Her voice was cold, flat. Don't be late. Brad's taking us skiing next month. I pulled back to look at Emma. Her face was red, eyes puffy. We'll do something fun next weekend, I said. Just you and me. Okay. I walked her to Jen's car, buckled her in. She pressed her hand against the window as they drove away. I stood there until the car turned the corner and disappeared. Back upstairs, the apartment felt empty. I made coffee, burned toast, ate standing at the counter because I didn't want to sit at a table meant for 2. The toolbox sat by the bed. I opened it, looked at Emma's drawings again. Found the one she'd made last month, me and her holding hands at the park. She'd written across the top in big purple letters, asterisk, best dad. Asterisk. I folded it carefully, put it back with the others. On top of the tools, under the tray, was my wedding ring. I'd taken it off that morning. Couldn't keep wearing it, couldn't keep pretending. The brass was dull now, the engraving barely visible. Together always, some promises, I was learning, only one person keeps. I closed the toolbox, locked it, set it back by the bed where I could see it when I woke up. 5 days until Saturday. 5 days until I could hold my daughter again. I could do 5 days. I'd done harder things with less reason to keep going. 3 days after the courthouse, Mr. Dalton came back to the garage. I was alone. Jake, the kid I'd just hired as an apprentice, had gone home for the day. The sun was setting through the bay doors, casting long shadows across the concrete. Dalton looked more serious this time. Less like he was delivering news, more like he was administering a test. "We need to discuss the terms," he said. We sat in my office again. He pulled out a leather folder, set it on the desk between us. "Your uncle's estate is complex. The trust he established has very specific conditions." "The 5 years," I said. "Yes, but it's more than that." He opened the folder. Inside were documents, legal papers with words I barely understood. But the numbers were clear enough. $500 million in a trust with my name on it. You cannot tell anyone. Not family, not friends. I thought of Emma. Of the purple backpack with fraying straps, of the apartment upstairs with its 2 chairs and bare walls. Not even my daughter. Dalton's face didn't change. Especially not her. She might tell her mother. The weight of that hit me. I couldn't even tell Emma. Couldn't explain that things would be okay someday. Couldn't promise her anything except what I could give her right now. What if I need to use some of it? I asked. Medical emergency, something for Emma? You have access to a discretionary fund. $20,000 per year for legitimate expenses. Beyond that, you live as you are now. Working here, living modestly. No sudden purchases, no lifestyle changes. He slid another document across the desk. This is the checkbook for the discretionary account. I recommend you don't use it unless absolutely necessary. I picked it up. Plain blue cover, my name printed on each check. $20,000. More money than I'd ever had in one place, but nothing compared to what waited on the other side of 5 years. How will you know? I asked. How will you know if I tell someone? Your uncle hired a firm. Private investigators. They'll monitor your spending, your behavior, your relationships. If you violate the terms, the trust dissolves immediately. Everything goes to charity. Everything. I set the checkbook down, looked at it like it might bite me. Dalton reached into his briefcase one more time, pulled out an envelope. Not the legal kind. Personal, handwritten address. Your uncle wanted you to have this. He wrote it 2 weeks before he died. The paper was thin, old-fashioned, the kind nobody used anymore. I opened it carefully. Uncle Bernard's handwriting was shaky but clear. Marcus. Asterisk, if you're reading this, I'm gone. That's all right. I had a good run, asterisk. Asterisk, your father was the best man I knew. When he died, I saw what it did to you. Saw you take on his debts. Saw you work yourself half to death to keep his promises. That's when I knew, asterisk. Asterisk, I made my money late in life. Spent 50 years proving I didn't need it first. Built character instead of bank accounts. When the money finally came, I knew what to do with it, asterisk. Asterisk, but money reveals who you really are, son. Give a man a fortune and watch what happens. Most men crumble. Get greedy. Get stupid. Lose themselves, asterisk. I'm betting you won't. Asterisk, 5 years might seem impossible, but if you can live those 5 years with nothing but your hands and your word, you'll prove something important. Not to me. I'll be dead. To yourself, asterisk. Asterisk, be the man I know you are. Stay quiet. Stay humble. Stay true, asterisk. Asterisk, the money's just a test. You've already got the real treasure, asterisk. Uncle Bernard. I read it twice, then a third time. Dalton waited. He really thought I could do this, I said. He was certain of it. I folded the letter, held it for a moment. Then I opened my toolbox, the one sitting in the corner of my office, and placed it inside with Emma's drawings. When does the 5 years start? I asked. It started the day I first came to see you. You have 4 years and 10 months remaining. 4 years and 10 months. Almost 5 full years of keeping this secret. Of watching Jen with Brad. Of living in my one-room apartment. Of packing Emma's lunch in a fraying purple backpack. What happens if I fail? I asked. The trust dissolves. The money goes to various charities your uncle designated. And if I succeed? Then on the final day, you sign one more document, and the money is yours to do with as you see fit. I picked up the checkbook again, looked at it. Then I stood, walked to the small safe I kept in the corner where I locked up the cash drawer overnight, and put it inside. Locked it. I won't need that, I said. Dalton almost smiled. Almost. Your uncle said you'd say something like that. After he left, I sat alone in my office. The garage was quiet. No hydraulic lifts hissing, no radio playing. Just me and the shadows and the weight of a secret I couldn't share. I thought about telling Jen. Imagine the look on her face. Imagine proving her wrong right now. Immediately. Completely. But that wasn't the test. The test was simpler and harder. Be who I already was for 5 more years. I could do that. I'd been doing it my whole life. Money didn't make a man. It just revealed him. I wouldn't let it change who I was. Year 1 bled into year 2. I settled into a rhythm. Up at 5. Coffee. Downstairs to the garage by 6. First customer at 7. Work until dark. Upstairs. Dinner alone. Sleep. Repeat. Saturdays and Sundays, when I had Emma, the world made sense again. Jake started working for me that first winter. 17 years old, dropped out of high school, living in his mom's basement. Showed up one morning asking if I needed help. You know anything about cars? I asked. No, sir. You willing to learn? Yes, sir. I put him to work sweeping floors, organizing tools, watching. Within a month, he could change oil without supervision. 3 months, he was doing brake jobs. Why do you work so hard, Mr. Hayes? He asked one afternoon. We were replacing a transmission on a Ford F-150. My hands were black with grease. My back ached. Because my hands know how. That's enough. He thought about that, nodded, went back to work. I taught him the way Dad taught me. Slowly, patiently. The right way, not the fast way. How to diagnose by sound. How to feel when something wasn't right. How to treat every car like it mattered because to someone, it did. The toolbox with Dad's initials sat on my workbench. Sometimes I'd let Jake borrow a wrench, a socket set. Tools that had built my life. These were my father's, I told him once. They're nice. Take care of them, they'll take care of you. Emma's weekends were sacred. I marked them on my calendar in purple marker, counted down the days between. Every Friday night, I'd clean the apartment, stock the fridge with her favorite foods, make sure her toothbrush was ready, her blanket was clean. Saturday mornings, she'd run up the stairs and throw herself into my arms. Daddy. We'd make pancakes, go to the park, fix something together in the garage. She loved handing me tools, learning the names. Socket wrench. Torque wrench. Phillips head. I noticed her backpack getting worse. The purple fabric was faded. The zipper stuck. The straps were held together with safety pins. I found the same model online. $15. Purple. I bought it and gave it to her one Saturday. You don't have to keep using the old one, baby. She looked at the new backpack, touched the fabric. Can I keep both? Sure. The old one stays here. For when I'm with you. She said it like it was obvious. Like of course she'd want something of hers to stay in my apartment. Something that would wait for her until she came back. I kept the old purple backpack on a hook by the door. Always there. Always waiting. Sundays were the hardest. Driving her back to Jen's house. Watching her walk up the driveway. Seeing Brad's car in the garage. Love you, baby. Love you, Daddy. 5 days. 5 days. The secret sat inside me like a stone. Heavy, constant. Some mornings I'd wake up and forget for a moment. Then I'd remember. $500 million. For more years. 3.5. 3. I thought about telling people constantly. When Mrs. Chen from down the block got sick, Sarah's aunt, though I didn't know it then, I heard about her hospital bills. $12,000. No insurance. Too old for Medicaid. Not old enough for Medicare. I called Dalton from a payphone. I want to pay someone's medical bill. From the discretionary fund? No. From the other account. Silence on the line. That's not how this works, Marcus. Then how does it work? He explained it. I could make anonymous donations through his firm. They'd arrange it. No trail back to me. It would count as part of the trust's charitable giving, set up in advance. But I couldn't tell anyone. Couldn't take credit. I don't want credit, I said. Mrs. Chen's bill disappeared 2 weeks later. Someone told me she cried when the hospital called. Kept asking who did it. Nobody knew. I saw her at the grocery store one Sunday. She grabbed my arm. Someone paid our hospital bill, she said. Was it you? Not me. Maybe you got an angel. She hugged me anyway. Bless you, Marcus, for caring enough to ask. I started doing it more. Small things. A single mom's car needed a new alternator. $200. I charged her cost, no labor. I can't afford this, she said. Already paid for. Someone donated to the shop. Who? Doesn't matter. Just pay it forward someday. The community center 3 blocks away ran an after-school program. Kept kids off the streets, gave them somewhere safe. But they were broke. Always broke. I talked to Dalton again. He set up another anonymous donation. $5,000. Enough for 6 months of programming. The director of the center, a woman named Maria, came into the shop one day. Someone's changing lives around here, she said. You know anything about it? Folks help each other. That's just Cleveland. She smiled. If you hear anything, tell them thank you. I started volunteering there on Wednesday nights. Teaching basic car maintenance to single moms. How to check oil, change a tire, jump a battery. Skills that could save them hundreds of dollars. That's where I kept seeing her. Sarah. She'd be there tutoring kids. Patient, kind, wearing the same jeans and sweater every week, driving a Honda Accord that had to be at least 12 years old. We'd nod, say hello. Nothing more. But I noticed things. How she stayed late to help struggling students. How she brought snacks from her own pocket. How she never asked for anything. One night, I was teaching a woman how to replace wiper blades. Sarah walked by with a stack of books. Still here? She asked. Could ask you the same thing. These kids need help. Can't leave until they get it. She said it simply. Like it was obvious. Like of course you'd stay late. Of course you'd give your time. I thought about the checkbook locked in my safe. About the money I could spend on myself. About how I'd rather be here, hands greasy, teaching someone a skill that mattered. Jake came up to me one Friday afternoon. He'd been working for me for almost a year. Mr. Hayes, I got into vocational college. Yeah. Auto mechanics program. They accepted me. I gripped his shoulder. You earned it. I just opened the door. You gave me a shot. Nobody else would. You showed up. You worked. That's all anyone can ask. After he left, I sat in my office, looked at Dad's toolbox, thought about Uncle Bernard's letter. Asterisk, the money's just a test. You've already got the real treasure, asterisk. I was starting to understand. 3 years left. Then 2.5. The clock kept ticking. I kept working. Kept showing up for Emma. Kept living like the money didn't exist. Because in the ways that mattered, it didn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The real wealth was already here. In the calluses on my hands. In Emma's purple backpack hanging by the door. In Jake's acceptance letter. In Mrs. Chen's grateful hug. I was richer than I'd ever been. I just couldn't tell anyone. Jen married Brad 18 months after our divorce was final. I found out from Emma. She was 8 by then. Told me one Saturday morning while we were making pancakes. Mommy's getting married again. I flipped a pancake. Kept my voice steady. Yeah. When? Next month. She said I get to be a flower girl. That's nice, baby. His name is Brad. He has a really big house. I put the pancake on her plate, added syrup, watched her cut it into small pieces the way I'd taught her. Do you like him? I asked. She shrugged. He's okay. He talks on his phone a lot. The wedding photos showed up on Facebook. I didn't look for them, but people talk. Customers mentioned it. Jake saw it online and showed me without thinking. Gated community. 3-car garage. Pool in the backyard. Jen in a white dress that probably cost more than my truck. She looked happy in the pictures. I closed the laptop, went back to work. Over the next year, her social media filled up with photos. Vacations to places I couldn't pronounce. Designer handbags. Restaurant meals that cost more than my weekly grocery bill. Emma mentioned things in passing. Skiing in Aspen. A cruise to the Caribbean. New furniture, new clothes, a new school. Private, with uniforms. Do you like the new school? I asked. It's okay. The kids are different. Different how? They talk about stuff I don't know about. Expensive stuff. One Saturday, she showed up with a new backpack. Leather. Designer label. Probably $200. Fancy, I said. She set it down by the door, looked at it. Mom bought it. She said the purple one was embarrassing. The old purple backpack was still hanging on its hook. Frayed, faded, held together with hope and safety pins. Emma walked over to it, picked it up. Can I use this one when I'm here? Of course. She smiled. Put the expensive backpack in the corner. Carried the purple one like it was made of gold. I started noticing things. Small things. Emma was quieter. Didn't run up the stairs the same way. Didn't laugh as easy. Everything okay at home? I asked once. Yeah. You sure? She nodded, but her eyes said different. One Sunday when I was dropping her off, I heard voices through the front door. Brad's voice, loud. Why does she still see that grease monkey every weekend? Jen's voice, quieter. He's her father, Brad. He's a loser. She needs better role models. Emma heard it, too. I could tell by the way her shoulders tensed. I knelt down, looked her in the eye. You know I love you, right? I know, Daddy. That's all that matters. She hugged me tight. Tighter than usual. When she pulled back, she whispered, Brad says you're poor. Are you, Daddy? The question hit harder than it should have. I thought about the checkbook locked in my safe. The money I'd never touched. The fortune sitting in silence. I've got everything I need, sweetheart. She studied my face, then nodded like she understood something Brad never would. The next Saturday, she showed up with the old purple backpack. Left the designer one at Jen's house. I like this one better, she said. Me too, baby. Me too. I saw Jen in some of those social media photos. The ones people showed me without asking. She was smiling. Always smiling. But if you looked close, you could see it. The tiredness around her eyes. The tension in her shoulders. The way she held herself like she was trying to prove something. I didn't say anything. Didn't gloat. Didn't feel victorious. Just felt sad. For her. For Emma. For all of us. Emma's teacher called me on a Tuesday. Asked if I could come in for a conference. Is everything okay? I asked. Everything's fine. I just want to talk. I showed up Thursday after work, still in my shop clothes. Washed my hands 3 times, but the grease never fully comes out. The classroom was empty except for one woman. Early 30s, dark hair pulled back, wearing jeans and a cardigan that had seen better days. "Mr. Hayes." "That's me." She smiled, extended her hand. "Sarah Chen. Emma's teacher." Her handshake was firm. No hesitation about the grease under my nails. "Emma talks about you all the time, Mr. Hayes. Call me Marcus. And she's my world." We sat at tiny chairs meant for 8-year-olds. Sarah pulled out Emma's work. Math tests, writing assignments, art projects. "She's doing really well, but I wanted to talk about something." My stomach tightened. "Okay." "She's been quieter lately. Less engaged." I wondered if everything was all right at home. I thought about Brad's voice through the door. About the designer backpack Emma refused to use. About the way she held herself different now. Her mom remarried. Big changes. New house, new school during the week. Sarah nodded. "That explains it. She mentioned you teach her about cars. When she's with me." "Yeah. She likes it. She wrote about it for her My Hero assignment." Sarah slid a paper across the desk. Emma's handwriting. A drawing of me and her in the garage. Asterisk my dad fixes things. Not just cars. He fixes bad days, too, asterisk. I had to look away for a second. "She's a special kid," Sarah said softly. "Yeah. She is. You're doing a good job." 3 weeks later, I ran into Sarah at the community center. She was tutoring kids. I was teaching my Wednesday night car maintenance class. "Small world," she said. "Getting smaller. We got coffee after. Not Starbucks. The diner on the corner. $2 cups, free refills." She told me about teaching. How she'd wanted to do it since she was Emma's age. How the pay was terrible, but the kids made it worth it. "I'm debt-free, though," she said. "Took me 7 years, but I did it. That's impressive. I don't need much. Just enough." The way she said it, simple, honest, content, reminded me of something Uncle Bernard might have said. We started seeing each other. Nothing fancy. Walks in the park. Coffee at the diner. One Saturday, she came over when I had Emma. Emma was learning to ride a bike without training wheels. Kept falling, getting frustrated. Sarah sat on the grass and watched me run alongside Emma, catching her when she wobbled, encouraging her when she wanted to quit. "You got this, baby. One more time." "I can't, Daddy." "Yes, you can. I'm right here." Emma pushed off, wobbled, found her balance, rode 10 feet before she fell. But she was laughing when she hit the grass. Sarah helped Emma with her math homework while I fixed Sarah's car. 12-year-old Honda needed new brake pads and an oil change. "How much do I owe you?" Sarah asked when I finished. "Coffee." "That's it? Just coffee?" She studied me for a long moment. "You're different from most guys I meet." "How so?" "You don't try to impress. You just are." That night, after Emma was asleep, Sarah and I sat on the steps outside my apartment. The garage below was dark, quiet. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. Do you ever want more? A bigger place, a nicer truck, any of that?" I thought about the checkbook in my safe. The secret pressing against my chest every single day. I've got Emma. I've got work I'm good at. That's more than enough. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I'd rather have someone's time than their money. Something in my chest loosened. A knot I didn't know was there. The next Saturday, I cooked for her. Dad's chili. The recipe card came out of my toolbox like an old friend. Sarah took one bite and closed her eyes. "This is amazing. My dad's recipe. Will you teach me?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. The way she sat at my small table in my small apartment like it was exactly where she wanted to be. Yeah, I said. I'd like that. Emma wandered in from the other room, saw us cooking together. Sarah, are you Daddy's girlfriend? Sarah looked at me. I looked at her. Is that okay with you? Sarah asked Emma. Emma grinned. Does that mean she can come over more? If she wants to, I said. Sarah smiled. I want to. That night after Sarah left, Emma hugged me tight. I like her, Daddy. She's nice like you. Yeah, baby. She is. For the first time in 3 years, the apartment didn't feel empty. It felt like home. Year 4 came faster than I expected. Jake graduated from vocational college in May, top of his class. He showed up at the garage with his diploma, grinning like a kid on Christmas. I did it, Mr. Hayes. Never doubted it. You gave me a shot when nobody else would. I won't forget that. I pulled something from under my workbench. A toolbox. Not fancy, but new. Filled with a basic socket set, wrenches, screwdrivers. Everything a young mechanic needed to start. Start your own collection, I said. He stared at it, ran his fingers over the metal. I can't. You can. You will. And someday you'll pass these to someone who needs them. He hugged me. Kid almost knocked me over. The garage was doing well. Not rich guy well, but steady. Word got around that I was honest, that I didn't overcharge, that I treated every customer like they mattered. People drove from across town to get their cars fixed here. Hayes and Son Auto. Even though there was no son. Just me and the memory of my father and the tools he left behind. The community center expanded their programs. New equipment, more staff. Kids who used to hang on street corners were learning skills, getting jobs, staying out of trouble. Maria, the director, kept asking who was funding it. I kept saying I didn't know. Then the news showed up. A reporter. Young guy, eager. Doing a story on anonymous philanthropy in Cleveland's near West Side. He interviewed Maria, talked to families who'd had medical bills paid, showed footage of the community center. Kids learning, growing, thriving. Then he came to my garage. Marcus Hayes. Yeah. I'm doing a story on the anonymous donor. Someone's changing lives around here. You know anything? I kept working. Tightened a bolt on a Chevy suspension. Folks help each other. That's just Cleveland. Come on. Someone's put thousands of dollars into this community. Scholarships, medical bills, programs for kids. You really don't know who. I really don't. He didn't believe me, but he left. The story ran the next week. Mystery donor transforms neighborhood. They interviewed 20 people. Not one of them knew who it was. I watched it on my laptop upstairs. Saw Mrs. Chin crying on camera. Saw Maria talking about the kids they'd saved. Saw Jake in his graduation photo. Sarah sat next to me on the couch. That's beautiful, she said. Yeah. It is. She looked at me. Something in her eyes. Curious. But she didn't ask. I called Dalton the next day. The news story, I said. Does that violate anything? Did you take credit? No. Then you're fine. 8 months left, Marcus. 8 months. Less than a year. The finish line was close enough to see now. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Uncle Bernard. About why he'd done this. Why the test? Why 5 years? I pulled out his letter, read it again by the light from the street lamp outside. Asterisk, I made my money late in life. Spent 50 years proving I didn't need it first, asterisk. I'd never asked Dalton about that. About Uncle Bernard's story. I called him the next morning. Tell me about my uncle, I said. Dalton was quiet for a moment. He was a mechanic, too. Just like you. Lived simple, died content. Then, about 10 years after his death, oil was discovered on land he'd owned. Mineral rights. The estate became worth millions. He'd set it all up in advance. The trust, the conditions, everything. He never knew he'd be rich. No. He lived and died thinking he was just a working man. But he'd written the will anyway. Just in case. I understood then. Uncle Bernard hadn't tested me with money. He'd tested me with silence. With patience. With character. The same test he'd given himself. 8 months left. I was almost home. She showed up on a Wednesday, 2 weeks before the 5-year mark. I was closing up the garage. Jake had left an hour earlier. The sun was setting, painting everything orange through the bay doors. Her car pulled up. Not the luxury SUV. An older sedan. Rental plates. Jen stepped out. No designer clothes. Just jeans and a sweater. Her hair was different. Shorter. No makeup. She looked smaller somehow. Tired. Emma got out of the passenger side. Saw me. Didn't run like she usually did. Marcus. Jen's voice cracked. Can we talk? I wiped my hands on a rag. Emma, you want to go upstairs? There's juice in the fridge. Emma looked at her mother, then at me. Something in her face I'd never seen before. Old. Too old for 9 years. I'll stay, she said quietly. Jen's eyes were red. She'd been crying. Maybe for days. Brad's gone, she said. I didn't say anything. Just waited. He was having an affair for months. And her voice broke. He was committing fraud. Securities fraud. The FBI came to the house. Froze everything. The accounts, the cars, the house. All of it. She wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. I have nothing. We're staying in a motel. I can't even afford Emma's school tuition next month. Emma stared at the ground. I could see her shoulders tight, braced. I'm sorry that happened, I said. Jen looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. I was so stupid, Marcus. So incredibly stupid. You weren't stupid. You just wanted different things. I wanted the wrong things. She stepped closer. I thought money would make me happy. I was so wrong. She looked around the garage. At my tools. At the modest space I'd built. At the apartment upstairs with its single light burning in the window. You were right, she whispered. You always were. The word sat between us. Heavy. True. Too late. I know I don't deserve it, she said. But please. Help me. I thought about the checkbook locked in my safe. The money that could solve all her problems with a single signature. The secret that would end tomorrow. One more day. I could tell her right now. Show her the bank statements, the trust documents. Watch her face when she realized what she'd walked away from. I could make her feel everything she'd made me feel. But Emma was watching. I'll fix your car, I said. That's what I do. Marcus. Free of charge. And Jake, my apprentice. He's got fair rates if you need work done later. She was crying harder now. I don't deserve your kindness. Probably not. But I'm giving it anyway. She moved closer, reached for my hand. I stepped back. Can we? She swallowed hard. Try again. For Emma. Emma's head snapped up. I looked at my daughter. At the girl who'd chosen a frayed purple backpack over designer labels. Who'd rather have my time than Brad's money. Who knew what mattered. I'll always be Emma's dad, I said calmly. But we're done, Jen. I knelt down to Emma's level. You doing okay, baby? Her lip trembled. Daddy, are you rich like Brad was? The question hit different this time. Not innocent curiosity. Real fear. Like money was a disease she'd watched destroy everything. Rich is having people who love you. I've got you. She threw her arms around my neck, held tight. I want to live with Daddy, she said. Jen made a sound. Half sob, half gasp. Honey, Daddy can't afford. Emma pulled back, looked at her mother with eyes too wise for 9 years old. He can afford to love me. That's more. The silence that followed was deafening. I stood up slowly, went to my workbench, opened the toolbox. The brass ring was still there, where I'd left it almost 5 years ago. Next to Emma's drawings. Next to Uncle Bernard's letter. I picked it up, held it in my palm. The metal was cold. The engraving barely visible. Together always, some promises only one person keeps. I looked at Jen. She was staring at my left hand. At the empty finger where the ring used to be. Her face crumpled when she saw it. Realized I'd moved on. Really moved on. I'll fix your car tomorrow, I said. Come by at 9 o'clock. Marcus. Emma can stay with me tonight if that's okay. Emma grabbed my hand, squeezed. Jen nodded. Couldn't speak. Just nodded. She left in the rental car. Alone. Emma and I stood in the garage together. The brass ring still in my palm. What's that? Emma asked. Something I used to wear a long time ago. Why don't you wear it anymore? Because some things are over. And that's okay. She thought about that, then pulled something from her pocket. A small toy. A good luck charm Brad had given her. Expensive. Diamond-studded. Can you throw this away? She asked. You sure? I don't need luck. I've got you. I took the toy, dropped it in the trash. Put the brass ring back in the toolbox. Closed it. Tomorrow the 5 years would be over. Tomorrow, Dalton would call. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, Emma and I went upstairs, made grilled cheese sandwiches, did her homework at my small table. And I realized something Uncle Bernard had known all along. I'd already won. Not tomorrow. Tonight. The test wasn't about the money. It was about who I'd become while refusing to need it. 1 week later, Dalton called. It's done. The 5 years are complete. Sign here and it's yours. I met him at his office downtown. The same leather briefcase. The same serious face. But this time, something different in his eyes. Respect, maybe. Or relief. I signed the papers. Didn't feel different. Didn't feel anything except the weight finally lifting. Your uncle would be proud, Dalton said. I hope so. That Saturday, I took Emma and Sarah to the park. Same park where Sarah had watched Emma learn to ride her bike. Where we'd walked and talked and fallen into something real. We sat on a bench. Emma was feeding ducks by the pond. I need to tell you something, I said to Sarah. She turned to me. Calm. Like she'd been waiting. 5 years ago, I inherited money. A lot of money. I couldn't tell anyone. I know, she said simply. You know. I wondered. You never stressed about money. Never complained. Just lived. She smiled. Didn't matter, though. Did it change how you felt? Not even a little. Emma ran back to us, plopped down between us on the bench. Daddy, what will you do with all that money? I looked at Sarah. At Emma. At the park and the ducks and the life I'd built in silence. Help people like your teacher helped you, baby. That night, I opened the checkbook for the first time. The one Dalton had given me 5 years ago. Never touched. First check, Hayes Youth Garage Fund. A place where kids like Jake could learn. Could build something with their hands. Could prove they were more than their circumstances. Second check, Emma's Education Fund. Whatever she needed. Wherever she wanted to go. I put the checkbook away, pulled out the recipe card. Dad's chili. The edges were more worn now, but the words were still clear. Come on, Emma. I'm teaching you Grandpa's recipe. Sarah watched from the doorway as I showed Emma how to measure cumin, how to brown the meat just right, how to add love to everything you make. The brass ring sat in a small box on my dresser. I'd given it to Emma earlier. Wrote a note on top. Asterisk, real promises stay kept even when rings come off. Love, Dad, asterisk. She'd cried when she read it. Happy tears. The apartment was small. My truck was old. My hands were still stained with grease that would never wash out completely. But Emma was laughing in my kitchen. Sarah was smiling. And the life I'd built quietly, humbly, honestly, was mine. The richest day of my life wasn't when I got the money. It was when I realized I didn't need it to be whole. If you had to choose, keep someone's respect or prove them wrong, which matters more?